Yo, what's going on, people? It's your boy Brandon, the Boston Perspective. Sunday, July 2nd. Hoping everybody had a great weekend. Everybody is in good health and spirits. So, came back down here. I'm going to rack them up from playing earlier. But, got some good feedback on trying to come to y'all and have these conversations by just coming around the pool table or just different places where I can get this, got this auto tracking on this camera that I have, and it's a little jerky, but it allows me to move around and not have to just sit in front of a space and just talk in front of a camera, which can get kind of boring when you're single with no kids and can't have a co-host, because Mia don't know how to talk. So normally I have to do this on a one-man show. So appreciate y'all for bearing with me, trying to figure this out, find a lane that I can have this type of dialogue with my people. When I say my people, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be black, but just anybody who wants to or is willing to do better in life. So I figured I won't assume that everybody is on here already knows me. So I'm gonna try to come from a perspective to get people to realize that the vantage points that I'm gonna speak from are my own, but they're coming from a male's point of view, because I believe that in society, the male perspective is ultimately ignored. Like there's not a desire, or there's not a mandate that it has to be understood. And I believe because of that, a lot of things are going haywire and failing. So most of my topics are going to be dealing with, relationships in some way, shape, or form. But I want the people to know I'm not a relationship coach. I'm not a, licensed therapist or psychologist or none of that nature. I'm just a nigga that had failures, and I learned from them, but I wish I knew them at the time, and I wish the people that I was dealing with at the time, we can be on the same sheet of music, as it was more so, the lack of understanding more than anything, and more so the desire to want to be right. So, I did a lot of self-sabotaging when I was coming up through the ranks. Dang, I'm missing. And I realized, some of my mistakes, I ain't gonna say I caught all of them, because I'm not a perfect person, but there was a lot of things that I can see that I could have said differently, done differently, looked at it differently. And that's the vantage point that I want people to understand, that I'm coming from a posture from failure. Like if I knew how to make all this work, I'd package it up and I swear I'd be a millionaire, but I'm still trying to figure it out. And while trying to figure it out, try not to give up on the desire to want to be married and have a family and all that other kind of stuff. But, I'm about to be 43 in September. And sometimes I have to face that reality that I might have missed my opportunity to have children of my own, which is a slippery slope and a, uncomfortable conversation that you normally have to have with women who have children. And I know that I'm the outlier in the scenario. Like, I've been married before, and it didn't work out. Obviously, I just told you I was single with no kids, but it's like having to have financial responsibility for a family that was already created You know what I mean? You really don't have like a biological say so to speak. So it's a tough position to be in. It's not like it's undoable because, you know what I mean, I come from a product of a step parent. So I understand it, but I do understand that I didn't make it easy for him when it first started off because my lack of understanding, you know. There's a lot of things I didn't know, so I acted out. You know, we relocated. It's a whole bunch of stuff that tied into it. So as I experience these things, you know, in life now, just trying to have the conversation, save that one for later. Just trying to have the conversation is difficult in itself because most people don't want to deal with the realities of their situations. And like I said, it works on both sides. You know, it's not just men are going through those things. Like I said, women have to put up with it as well. But again, like I said, I'm speaking from the male's perspective because, like I said, it's something that I believe that doesn't get lots of, or if any, attention at all. So, you know, I just want people to start looking at ourselves first. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of us spend a lot of time just being all over the place because solitude is a space that most of us don't want to be in because that's normally when we have to deal with ourselves. You know what I mean? Like when it's quiet, when there's nobody around, and it's just us, that's when most of the time, you know what I mean, those thoughts creep up in our head or things we've been putting off or doing that we know we shouldn't be doing. And it's like either we're going to deal with them or we're going to prolong the consequences of not dealing with it. But no matter what, it's going to get dealt with. And most of the times, you know what I mean, we end up discarding people because we don't want to have conversation. So we figure, you know, we just move on to the next person in hopes that they don't bring stuff up or make things difficult. And if they do, you know, we get our Jackie Journal Kersey on or Flojo and we just get to running. And essentially, all that running that we do from people, we're going to run back into ourselves. At the end of the day, for me, it's just better to deal with it. I'd rather, you know what I mean, leave a situation where, you know, we both amicably can see that this didn't work. So like if my name is mentioned or her name is mentioned, you know, it ain't no bad blood or no beef or nothing like that, opposed to just staying in a situation and being miserable because we have, you know, expectations that weren't conveyed. You know what I mean? We just sit around thinking the person's supposed to read our minds. So, you know, it's one of these things where I don't know if I'll ever, you know, get it together because like a relationship is one that you volunteer to be in them, but you have no control over the outcome because you can only put your best foot forward. But I do know that most of us, we come from a defensive standpoint. So if anybody know anything about sports, when you playing defense, it means you're trying to stop somebody. So when we playing defense, we can be, dang, I can't even, I'm about to mess around and scratch. When we playing defense, we might mess around and put defense on ourselves. So we stopping ourselves from getting, you know, the end result because we're wanting somebody else. Well, went the whole thing without scratching. We want somebody else to do something for us that we're not willing to do for ourselves. And it's like honest communication and dialogue is necessary out here. And somehow that's missing. Like we do everything on social media. Like people sneak diss people. They put their relationship woes, and it's like nobody seems to be talking things out anymore. It's just subliminal messages on social media, and it's always the other person's fault. Now that might be the case, you know what I mean? Two things can be true at the same time, but it's like if we're not happy, it's easy for us to just tell a person, hey man, listen, I'm not happy, this isn't working, and this is why. Opposed to offering silent treatment, expecting the person to figure it out, and then in the background, we're trying to secure other people, or we entertaining other people, which they call monkey branching. And it's like we try to do things to make them leave instead of us just leaving. And it's like it just doesn't make any sense, you know, and I don't understand why it's so difficult for us to quote unquote chat with our thumbs on a computer screen or a cell phone. But when it comes to face, letting the person know, hey, when you did this, it made me feel this way. And like I said, for people to sit back, everybody loves to say nobody's perfect. But when somebody points out an imperfection in us, we automatically get defensive. And I never understand. Like, it never feels good to be told you're doing something that's in opposition of what you think is quote unquote cool. But if another person sees it differently, you know, we owe it to them to at least hear them out, try to figure it out, because in that way, you'll see if a person has insecurities, if a person is selfish, you know, all those kind of things, just by having conversations and paying attention. So I just believe we could be better off, you know, in today's society with relationships. But I always wonder, like, is it too late? Like, do we even want to be with somebody in the way that, you know, the generation before us and our grandparents wanted? We just want somebody to take care of like financial responsibilities for us while we just peruse the world, quote unquote, trying to figure it out. And that's a scary, you know, position to be in, because being that a lot of old school marriages, like people been married for 20, 30 years, you don't really hear nothing about that no more. So like we have all these new, you know, weddings and people getting married, and that's a beautiful thing. But like if you just met a person and y'all got together when you was already up, like how do we vet if when shit go bad, they gonna stick around? You know what I mean? Like, because we taught to just, hey, mess around, have fun in your 20s. Then we recover from them mistakes in our 30s. Then once the 30s get here and life done had the best of us, just like now, we in our 40s are damn near pushing 40, and we got all these crazy wants and desires, but it's like we might have phased ourselves out of that stuff. And it's like a lot of people don't realize that there's a point system that comes with, you know what I mean, relationships. And I know it don't sound good to hear, but the more baggage, because we all have it. We all got baggage. Ain't nobody without baggage. But if you have more baggage than the other person, they may be willing to accept your baggage, but you still have to put forth more work, depending on what it is that you want. I know it don't sound pleasing. You know what I mean? It don't sound cute, but it's the reality. Like if you have terrible credit, but you said that you want a man or a woman that you can build a home with, how do you plan on building that home if your credit is terrible? That's part of the process. So if that person's credit is already on point, or if they already have a home or whatever their scenario is, and you don't have that, like, what does that mean to you? Like, what is that worth to you? And a lot of people don't like to have them uncomfortable conversations. Like, if you have kids and another person doesn't have kids, like, your kids mean the world to you. And that's not to say, you know what I mean, a dude or a woman gonna come in and be like, yo, F your kids. However, you have another relationship, whether it's good or bad, with the mother or father. How does that situation work? You know what I mean? If you and that person are not speaking, and then you get with somebody else, and then, you know, decisions have to be made, and they realize that they can never be that person's, you know, father. They can just be a father figure. How much input are you going to allow him or her to have? Most likely, like I said, I'm speaking for men, because most of the times, primarily, women have custody. It's very few times where judges grant full custody to fathers. So, you know, it's a lot of questions or situations that most people don't talk about. They just like, yo, I like you, you like me, what's up? But we don't talk about the stuff that matters. Like, once you get on my nerves, and that stuff you used to do that was cute now is annoying, what do we do? You know what I mean? What is the plan for, you know, the immediate? Like, how much information do you divulge up front? Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to get to know somebody, that's what I want to know. What constitutes as a date? Like, ladies, does a date technically, do you have to spend money? Because I thought the goal was to get to know you. Now, like I said, I'm not opposed. You know what I mean? I take women out on dates. But it seems like the stories that I'm starting to hear, because I ain't taking nobody on a date in a minute, but the stories that I'm hearing, it's like, it's about where you being taken out to, not much of how much are you trying to get to know that person, or you trying to allow that person to get to know you that's interested. So, like, what are we doing on dates nowadays? Like, what are we just having little fluff conversations, trying to see if we can smash like on the first night, or like, are we having dialogue that can rule out a person so you don't waste your time or they don't waste their time? Like, what's going on, y'all? Hit me in the comments, DM me or whatever. Like, what be going on dates now? Because like I said, most of the time, even when things start to get established, and I had this experience recently. When I say recently, like in the last couple of years, like, I asked a female, she was in relationships before, and she was even married, and we was trying to, she wanted to take me out, which was a surprise. But it's like, she couldn't plan it. So I'm just like, yo, wherever you want to take me, you know, I'm cool. You know, just surprise me. But when we broke it down, so she said that's something that she never had to do. She was always taken out. So it's like, it's those little things to where, like I said, we have these unspoken expectations that, like, if we don't know or we don't feel comfortable, you know what I mean, allow yourself to learn, opposed to meeting everything with opposition or attitude. So, you know what I mean, it's one of those things to where I just believe in transparency. You know, at the end of the day, I give you me up front, and I let you decide if that's something that you can deal with. Like, I just believe in transparency. You know, at the end of the day, I give you me up front, and I let you decide if that's something that you can deal with. Like, you know what I mean? I've been married, divorced, don't have any kids from it. But if a female tells me she doesn't want a guy who's been married before, my goal is to not try to, I'm not about to convince her of why I'm still a good guy. Despite that, I'm going to move around, because ultimately I can't give her what she's requesting. So at some point in time, it's going to become a problem. So it's like, why waste each other's time on something that we know and we've established already that's going to be problematic. And that's what the point that, I'll be trying to get at. Like, you don't have to come out and tell a person your whole family tree. But I thought the purpose of dating, especially if you give somebody your phone number, and y'all exchanging, uh, y'all exchange information. I'm assuming it's a mutual interest. So like, where it goes from there. So, as we continue to, build upon this, and like I said, none of what I'm doing now is scripted. I don't write nothing down. I just, something be heavy on my heart, I freestyle it and I let it go where it's gonna go. Essentially I'm gonna start having topics once I get, some guests to make it a little bit more organized and professional. But not saying that it's not professional, but y'all get what I'm saying. But I really want to understand, like I said, over here on this channel, or what I'm attempting to do, like I want understanding over acceptance. Like I don't care if you accept what it is that I'm saying, but can you understand it? Because it's two people involved in a potential situation. If there's no understanding, what is even the purpose? Like, is the goal just to be right? You know what I mean? Like, so that's just the journey. Like, do everything that I want you to do. But if you ask me to do something and I don't feel comfortable, I'm not going to meet it with the same energy. And like I said, that just doesn't make sense to me. So as I wrap up trying to hit this 8-ball in the side pocket, which I just didn't, I'm hoping that we can, build upon what I'm just saying. Like, let's just be transparent in our interactions with each other. Let's, be willing to be vulnerable with things that happen to us, and let's potentially grow together. If you got any questions, topics you would like to see or have discussed, the way that I got this set up, you can call in, I can have it on the thing, and we can have discussion together. However you want to do it. I'm just here. I feel this is what I've been put on earth to do. Share my failures from my past, and in hopes that I can make my community and this world a better place when I check on up out here. That's really my ultimate goal, and I believe I have the ability to be able to bridge people, merge people together, and through that, I might be able to find my Miss Boston. But if that's not the case, I'm fine with that as well. But it's one of those things where I believe what I'm attempting to do is going to have some impact on the world, and I'm not doing it for the likes. I'm not doing it for, the views. It'd be nice if people watch it. I'll be lying if I say I want to do this and just nobody watches it or shares it. But like, if nobody comments, but you're having these conversations in your home, I'm cool with that. But at the same token, you don't have to be silent and not let me know if something I said or did, or, you're rocking with what I'm doing. That would be nice too. Everybody needs some encouragement every now and then, but I don't need the validation. Like, I know I failed. I'm going to continue to make plenty more mistakes. That's just the nature of the beast. But, what can you do but learn from them, and then you try to share them with the people. So, again, as y'all just saw me clean this table 2 times without scratching on an 8-ball, let me know what y'all want to talk about. If this was get your mind going about stuff, like I said, I want a slow motion. I don't want to just dive into it and just get heavy. I have a sense of humor, all of the kind of stuff people may not know. So everything ain't gonna be heavy. Sometimes I might come on here as a caricature, I should say, and try to give perspectives from that. I might do skits. I'm gonna incorporate a lot of stuff. There's many elements to me, but my ultimate goal is to have these conversations with y'all and hope that y'all give me some feedback, and we can just be better in our own individual lives, you know what I mean? Better sisters, brothers, husbands, fathers, mothers, wives, all that other kind of good stuff. I think we lost human decency, you know what I mean? And that just come from nobody's verbally talking to each other. Like everything is on social media. And like I said, it's ironic that I'm saying that when I'm using social media, but it's one of those things where stop and ask somebody how they doing and be prepared to have a conversation if they don't give you that esoteric, I'm straight or everything is good, you know? So appreciate y'all listening to me thus far. Again, it's your boy Brandon. If you haven't done so already, go over to YouTube / at Boston Perspective. Subscribe. Take some people with you. Add them, subscribe. And I'm not going to ask people, started to do that, but I'm not going to ask you to like something that you don't like. Hell, if you dislike it, give it a thumbs down. You know what I mean? If you comment, you don't like what I'm saying, you don't like how I'm looking, whatever the case, you know what I mean? Just can't do this without the engagement. So engage with your boy. Engage with the people that's in your life, you know what I mean? And just start with the transparency, which is with yourself. Start seeing where you messed up and what you can be doing to do better. And then on the next time, we'll just go from there. But like I said, I just ain't want to come out here to make it seem like everything I'm saying is the gospel that, you know, I got this all figured out. I'm still trying to figure it out myself, but I'm willing. I don't see too many people willing to try to figure it out. It's just like we want what we want. We like what we like. And it's like we don't want to do anything. Like the art of working for stuff is gone. We just want something. We just manifest. We say, hey, I want to be rich, if that's the case. And it's like we put no work ethic towards it. So it's like we just talkers nowadays. Like there's nobody really having action behind what they're doing. I'm hoping I can stir this change. So I could be out of my mind, but I'm optimistic like that. So again, appreciate y'all tuning in. It's your boy Brandon, the Boston Perspective. Salute.